And welcome everybody to another edition of the GSMC Football Podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. As always, I'm your host Kenneth Grunfelder, and it's great to have you guys here on this Friday, August 30th. We have a lot to cover on the show today. Before I get into that, just want to remind you guys to tip or donate and get your comments recognized. Go to the $ icon in the chat. When you do this, you can put out a super chat that I can acknowledge during the live broadcast, and it just makes the show more interactive between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. We appreciate your guys' viewership each and every day, and the alternative way to help out the show is also going to the link on the bottom of the show segment on the ticker, GSMCPodcast.net. Any way you can help out the show really means the world to us. So let's get into what we are going to discuss for today. So we're going to start off the show. We are going to talk about Brandon Aiyuk's contract extension. That's right. We finally made it. We made it to the end. So he got a new contract. We'll get into the specifics of it, and we'll talk about him and the 49ers and as they can now move forward from this. So we'll get into that. I'll also talk about Ja'Marr Chase. So, CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Aiyuk, they got their new contracts. But now Ja'Marr Chase is looking for his new contract. And he's not practicing for the Bengals. And we're a little over a week away from their first game against the Patriots next week. So, we'll get into that discussion. I'll also talk about Malik Nabers for the Giants. He's going to be wearing number 1. He changed his number. He was wearing 9 for most of training camp, the preseason, but now he's going to be wearing number 1. And I want to talk about that because that's kind of sparked up some controversy, and I wanted to give you my take on it. Then in the fourth part of the show, we'll talk about Tom Brady as he's looking to become a part-time owner with the Raiders, but that will lead to some restrictions with him now being a broadcaster with Fox. So I wanted to get into that as well. And then a couple of things in the final part of the show. We'll go over some of the games from last night in college football. I wanted to talk about Colorado and North Dakota State. That game was an exciting game to watch. Get into, just looking at some of the big matchups for this weekend, but also giving you my NFC North predictions as well. So that'll be a double segment to end off the show. So let's get into the first topic now, which is talking about Brandon Aiyuk. So, listen, if I had like a confetti cannon or something, I would have, shot it off on the show right now because it was a long time. This took a while, and I didn't know if there was going to be an end in sight. It was just a lot of, they're talking, they're set to meet. Now he could be traded. You had teams like the Patriots, the Browns, and the Steelers in on him, and the Steelers supposedly had a deal in place to acquire him, and they were just waiting on the 49ers to sign off on it. Again, still showing up to practice, but not playing. Not practicing, just showing up and being present, but not doing any kind of physical activity. But yesterday, the news broke that Brandon Aiyuk and the 49ers finally came to an agreement. And it's a 4-year extension worth $120 million, $76 million guaranteed, $30 million a year, the annual AAV, which is tied for 5th in the NFL with Tyreek Hill. The total contract ranks just below Amon-Ra St. Brown of the Detroit Lions. So those are the specifics of the deal. But yeah, it's just, also I forgot to mention Aiyuk requested a trade as well. Kind of figured because, the teams were offering the 49ers or giving the 49ers offers. But yeah, it's been quite a saga. And Chillmatic in the chat, GSMC sup. What's going on? How's it going? Yeah, it's just I am so happy that this is finally over because this has gone on for so long. And now, well, the 49ers have gotten past this, but now they have to worry about Trent Williams because he's another guy that's looking for a new contract and he's holding out. So it seems like the 49ers were really focused. Now, they've been in contact with Trent Williams. They've been talking with him because I was watching SportsCenter last night, and SVP was talking to Adam Schefter. And yeah, so they're having discussions. So really, it seems like, which it kind of makes sense. The 49ers are prioritizing getting a deal done with Aiyuk, getting that out of the way, and now they could put all their focus on getting a deal done with Trent Williams before their first game next Monday. Because Trent Williams, look, different position, but he is a very important player on this 49ers offense. He protects Brock Purdy. And you saw last year when he got hurt, and Deebo Samuel also got hurt, the 49ers offense struggled. They really, really struggled. They went on that 3-game losing streak. So, I mean, you got your full array of weapons for this game. Now, Christian McCaffrey's still not practicing, but he's probably going to play. My guess is he's going to play against the Jets. You got your full array of weapons, but you got to get Trent Williams back. So they got to work on that. But at least when it comes to Brandon Aiyuk, this situation has resolved itself. And now we can move forward. Now, how is, all that time that, he wasn't practicing, how is that going to affect him on the field? Well, we're just going to have to wait and see. But they at least have him back. And I saw a quote from Kyle Shanahan saying that, he was preparing for life without Trent Williams and Brandon Aiyuk for week 1. Well, one of those guys you got back. Now they got to try to get a deal done with the other. And I do have confidence that the 49ers are going to be able to figure it out. But the other thing, too, is, Brandon Aiyuk is, how old is he? He's 26? Oh, I might be wrong on that. He is, because Trent Williams is 36. Yeah, Aiyuk is 36. So Trent Williams, I think, is 36. He's an older player. So, you worry about, him taking the field, not really, practicing. How is that going to affect you? Like, you're at risk of an injury too. But, we'll see what happens. Chillmatic in the chat says, longest 6 days in history right here. Yeah. I mean, you really got to hope that they're able to figure it out because, they don't have Trent Williams going into this game against the Jets. I mean, listen, the Jets, we'll see what kind of season they have, but we do know one thing for certain. That Jets defense is going to be very good this year. We could see how the offense is, but the defense we know is legit. And if they go into this game with no Trent Williams, that's going to be a problem for Brock Purdy. But, at least he's got his full array of weapons. He'll most likely have his full array of weapons. So, yeah, no, the Brandon Aiyuk saga has finally ended. We can move forward now. Now we got to talk about Jamar Chase, which I'll get into in the next segment. But It's just that took so long. That took so long, but we made it. We made it. And now and that's great for Brock Purdy because it's that's a big weapon. And losing him like in the short term, I think it would have been rough because you got some young guys. You got Juwan Jennings that could fill in, but you know they're not gonna. It's hard to replace this production that you have here. They drafted Ricky Pearsall, I guess, as an insurance policy just in case they traded one of their receivers, but no, they got both Aiyuk and Debo, and you got Pearsall, you got Juwan Jennings, George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey. They're ready to go. So uh, we'll see when they take the field for the first time against the Jets on September 9th. And will Trent Williams be joining them? That's the next question. Chill in the chat says, I developed Aiyuk fatigue, but refreshed now. Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you. It was, that took way too long. And it's just like every update that we got, it was like, well, they're going to meet. He's at practice, but he's not practicing. And it was just like, can we get to a resolution, please? That's all I ask. And we did. We did. With now, a little over a week before their first game, but a little less than a week before the first official game between the Chiefs and the Ravens. So, but let me know what you guys think, though, about the Aiyuk situation. How do you guys see him performing in 2024, fresh on his new deal? Off his new deal. So we're going to take our first break of the show now. When we come back, we will talk about another receiver who's looking to get a new contract, and that is Ja'Marr Chase. We'll get into what's going on there, give you my thoughts when we come back from our first break of the show. So with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.